that the army is getting now into this business of stopping journalists. We know that they have also recently targeted human rights defenders, raided the offices of a human rights legal aid organization, kept representatives of both Egyptian and international human rights groups in detention for several days, and also went after political activists. And yesterday, reporters with El Badil news website were also detained and continue to be in detention now.
Okay.
The army...
We have to leave it there, Mr. Barkhat. Thank you very much indeed. And the reason for that, I know we've got a line up to Israel at the moment. We're going to talk to Alon Leal, a former senior Israeli diplomat, currently international relations professor at Tel Aviv University. We wanted to get you, Mr. Leal, before the line went down, and thank you for waiting so patiently for us. I want to try and examine the problems as envisaged by the Israeli establishment if the Mubarak regime falls. Can you distill the concerns?
Yes, if this happens and Mubarak falls, it is expected that we will see a different Egyptian policy toward Israel. People still hope very much that the peace agreement will not collapse and that the diplomatic relations will be maintained. But I think people understand that this strategic partnership and the special friendship with Mubarak and his circle are probably gone.
And what would the Israeli authorities, those at the center of government and indeed perhaps those on the fringes as well, make of the fact that the Vice President of Egypt has now been talking to the Muslim Brotherhood?
Look, the big shock was 10 days ago when we saw the previous Friday what's going on in Egypt. So people here started thinking on the worst scenario already of even Muslim brothers taking over. So I think at this stage, when he's speaking to the Muslim brothers, it's not much of a surprise anymore. People realize that we'll have a different coalition, especially after the elections. So people expect changes, great changes.
And what particular changes would they be most concerned about? And which particular changes would they be perhaps pleased to see?
Look, if we lose, God forbid, if we lose the peace agreement with Egypt, we are back to square one, in fact, with our relations with the Arab world. We are completely encircled by hatred to Israel. So people don't even want to imagine such a scenario. I think as long as the relations, diplomatic relations are maintained, it is bearable. People think we might enter a Turkish kind of a scenario in which we keep the diplomatic contact, even the economic relations. People are very worried about the gas that Egypt sells us. And if this will be the fallback, that we have more criticism coming from Egypt, but the basis of the relations is not being broken, then I think we can still live with it.
Alon Leal, thank you very much indeed. Former senior Israeli diplomat, now with Tel Aviv University. Thank you for your thoughts on the relationship as it is and as it might be between Israel and Egypt. We're off to London. Julie MacDonald is there for us, and she's going to bring us up to date with some of the day's other news. Julie.
David, thank you. Fresh clashes have broken out on the Thai-Cambodian border a day after a ceasefire was called there. Witnesses told the Reuters news agency that troops from both countries exchanged fire. Now, they're fighting over an area surrounding an 11th century Hindu temple, which both countries claim to be their own. 5 people have been killed in those battles on Friday and Saturday, and many more have been injured. Well, for the very latest, let's speak to our correspondent, Wayne Hay, who's on the Thailand-Cambodia border. Hi there, Wayne. What's happening where you are at the moment?
Well, for the last hour or so, it has certainly gone quiet, but for about 3 hours preceding that, there was certainly a lot of artillery fire that was going from the Thai side into Cambodian territory, into that area that is disputed, so that land that surrounds that temple that you mentioned. We saw no evidence of return fire coming back from the Cambodian side, but certainly there are reports that there have been injuries on the Thai side, Thai soldiers injured. We're not sure of exact numbers at the moment. I'm standing on the main road leading to one of those border villages on the Thai side, and there are a line of about a dozen ambulances at the moment. This is really as far as they can go safely anyway towards the border, and so they are waiting for injured who may be coming out of that village, people who stayed there, perhaps went into the bunkers that they have in those border villages. So certainly there will be some injured on the Thai side, but for the moment things seem to have gone quiet.
And Wayne, just quickly, how have ordinary people been reacting to this?
Sorry, I just lost you there. What was that question?
How have ordinary people been reacting to this?
Well, we've seen streams of vehicles leaving those border villages trying to get out of those areas. They evacuated for the first time on Friday when this latest round of violence first started. They went to nearby towns, safer areas. And on Sunday, we saw them drifting back as it appeared, as you mentioned, a ceasefire had been agreed upon between the two countries, only for, on Sunday evening, for the violence to erupt again. And so we've seen streams of vehicles leaving those border areas and going to safer territory.
Winhee, for that update, thank you. Now, an Iranian court has begun proceedings in the trial of 3 Americans accused of spying. Shane Bauer and Josh Fatal were arrested in July 2009 near Iran's border with Iraq. A third American, Sarah Shurd, was also arrested, but she was released on bail last September. Now, they say they were hiking in northern Iraq and mistakenly crossed into Iran. There's no word, though, on the outcome of Sunday's session. The Tehran Revolutionary Court has banned observers from that trial. In Tunisia, at least 2 people have been killed when police opened fire on a crowd of demonstrators. The protesters set fire to a police station in northern Tunisia after they were shot at. State media said the clashes erupted after a policeman hit a woman during a protest outside a police station. 3 weeks after the fall of Tunisia's president, Zine El Abidine Ben Ali, many opposition figures say that they're not being included in political process. From the capital, Tunis, here's Al Jazeera's Nazneen Moshiri.
It was a frightening moment for opposition leader Monsef Marzouki as he made his way through the streets of the capital. This footage given to Al Jazeera shows a former exile set upon by what he says are plainclothes secret police. He told me Ben Ali's security forces are still operating here freely.
We got rid of the dictator, but the dictatorship is still there. I mean, the secret police is still there. The party of the dictatorship is still there.
Praying for peaceful times. Rashid Ghannouchi was also exiled under Ben Ali, with many members of his Islamic Ennahda movement imprisoned or tortured. He says the new government isn't legitimate. His party and many other opposition groups have been shut out of the political process.
The people must protect their revolution if they value the achievement of toppling the dictator. The blood of the martyrs is in their hands, and not all their goals have been achieved. The street must be ready. The genuine opposition must come together to build on a common vision.
This is the man who could unite the opposition. Najib Chebi lived through Ben Ali's regime. Just a month ago, addressing his supporters like this would have been impossible. Now he has a real chance of becoming Tunisia's next president.
Don't have the right to fail. You know, Tunisia is now mature to establish a democratic regime and to begin real and just development.
The headquarters of the former ruling party, the RCD, has now been dismantled. Big questions still remain over whether there has been a break with the past. A promised investigation into corruption and human rights abuses has been criticised as slow and inefficient, and nobody knows when there's going to be a free and fair election. The opposition says it wants more time to prepare for those elections. Tunisia is now in uncharted territory. Building a new democratic nation is not going to be easy. Nazanin Mashiri, Al Jazeera, Tunis.
Heavy rains are hampering efforts to bring aid to people in flooded northern and eastern Sri Lanka. More than 1 million people have been affected there. The government says that 8 people have died so far, but some reports claim the death toll is actually higher.